Hello, and welcome to the third video of Broken Pieces. Today we're going to talk about the healing journey. And the reason I want to talk about this is because it explains the bad day even further, but more importantly, it shows the process of when your life gets shattered from some kind of traumatic event in your life. It shows the process of how to put those broken pieces back together. The interesting thing though with the healing cycle is that it's actually a journey. Whenever I mentor anybody, I always tell them this. There's not a problem in this world where time is not a part of the solution. You have to allow that journey to happen. But as humans, what we want is instant gratification, don't we? We want all our problems gone right now. But that is not going to happen. You have to go through the journey. And in the journey, there is a cycle. And that cycle is you're going to have high points, you're going to have low points. And those high points are successes. They're things that you gained. And the low points, although they seem like they're dark and deep and you're dealing with depression and anxiety and suicide and you're blaming people and you're angry, it's actually a new beginning. And if you understand it as a new beginning, it allows you to go through the healing cycle. But if you don't understand it's a new beginning, you can actually take those low points and compound them upon each other, and they'll pull you further, deeper, and darker every single time. Because the depression, the anger, the anxiety, all that will overtake you. And you'll know if it pulls you deeper every time if you ever get to the point where you're dealing with suicidal thoughts. Because that's when you're letting your low points become compounded upon each other to where you see no hope and nothing's going to change. So let me explain to you my own healing cycle. For me, my rock bottom was on April 24, 2003 when I got injured. From there, it spent about a couple weeks of the rock bottom finally figuring out what it totally meant. But I ended up losing a third of my body weight. I was down to 112 pounds. I'm 6'2". I weigh 220 pounds. I'm not supposed to weigh 112 pounds. And on top of that, I couldn't move because I lost so much muscle to the point where I couldn't even roll over or sit up. I couldn't lift my legs or bend my elbows. I couldn't even wiggle my toes. My rock bottom had a tube in my mouth so I couldn't breathe, well, helping me breathe, but I also couldn't talk. Tubes in my chest draining fluid from my lungs because they were burned. Another tube in my stomach so I could eat. My rock bottom was really far down. What I didn't realize is when I hit that rock bottom, I actually was already starting my first climb. The other thing I didn't realize is that rock bottom was as worse as it was going to get if I didn't allow it to get worse by compounding upon it. And I started my first climb. And my first climb came on June 27th, 2003. That was my 5th wedding anniversary. That day they also pulled the ventilator, and I now could breathe, and I now could talk. And I couldn't wait for my wife to come see me. You see, up until then, the way I talked would I blink when people would run through the alphabet. And I can't tell you how many times I blinked 3 words, I love you, to my wife. Well, I couldn't wait to see her, because I also knew it was my anniversary. And I wanted her to hear those 3 words with my own voice. After she did hear those words when she came to see me in the evening, we celebrated. She was pregnant, so she had apple juice. I was now allowed to suck on an ice cube, first thing I got to eat in over 6 weeks. And we celebrated. I hit a high point because I gained something that day. And what I gained was the ability to breathe and the ability to talk. But 3 days later, the darkness set in. I was now depressed and anxious, blaming people. I was angry. And when she came to visit me that evening, I said to her, "This is not the man you married. Take everything and go. I'll completely understand." I hit my new rock bottom. The interesting thing though was I didn't fall as far. Why? Because I gained something. I could breathe and I could talk. And I got to keep it, which also meant my next climb wasn't as high because I had new tools to help me make that climb. And then the next time I hit that high point would have been when I fed myself for the first time. It was with a 2-foot fork because I couldn't bend my elbows at that time. And I got to now feed myself. I gained something, some ability. But within just a few hours of that, I was angry and depressed again. And the reason being was I still had so many more hills to climb. I still had to roll over and sit up. I still had to be able to go to the bathroom and get dressed and go home. I still had to do so many things for myself. Feeding yourself and talking is not enough to live. But I gained something. and I got to keep it, which means my next fall wasn't as far, and my next climb wasn't as high. And then my next climb would have been when my daughter was born, on September 28th, 2003, 5 months into my journey when I was the worst. I was at that point playing a game in my head that if I could kill myself, how would I do it? And when my daughter was born, I had this weird way of taking anything positive and making it negative. So when she was born and I found out, I was like, well, what good am I? I'm supposed to be there for my family. I'm supposed to be the first one that gets to hold my daughter. This is supposed to be my happiest day, and all I want to do is die. I took anything positive, and I made it negative. The day after my daughter was born, though, they allowed her into my isolation room. I still couldn't hold her on my own, so Tina, my wife, she raised the railing of the bed and patted the blanket and laid my daughter right here in my lap. As she laid there, I looked at her hair, which was my hair, blonde hair. I looked at her ears, which she had, I didn't. I looked at her nose, which at that time I was missing parts of my nose. I looked at her fingers, they were all there. And I realized I had this perfectly healthy little baby girl that came from this extremely burned man. And all she needed in life was 2 things. She needed a mom, she needed a dad. She had that mom, she was fighting for her. But that dad, well, I was just wallowing in misery. I was more concerned about myself and how depressed I was and how about to end my life than I was about my family. And when my daughter was born, what she did for me is she showed me I have things in this world worth fighting for. And I can tell you, I don't care what it is you find worth fighting for. It doesn't have to be you, because you're in a dark place right now. I don't care what it is. When you find it, hold on to it and fight for it. It will be worth it. I gained something that day. I gained something worth fighting for. It doesn't mean my healing cycle was over. I still had to roll over and sit up. I still had to learn how to brush my teeth. I had to go to the bathroom and get dressed and be able to go home. I had to learn how to work doorknobs and do all these little simple things in life. But I can tell you that it was worth every single climb. But if I didn't allow those dark places to be new beginnings, and if I made them just dark places I couldn't handle anymore, they would have compounded upon each other. And they did for a while, to where I did want to kill myself. But eventually I came to realize I did have things worth fighting for in this world. And things were changing because time had to happen. And as they changed, I grabbed onto those things because I had new tools. And they helped me to get better. The last thing I want to talk about the healing cycle is that there's 3 outcomes you can achieve in the healing cycle. You can achieve being worse off than when you started, and that's when you allow that darkness every time you hit that low point to compound upon each other, to where you do consider suicide, you chase people out of your life, you turn to addictions, you put yourself into solitude. You can come out of the healing cycle in the worst place if you allow it to happen. You can also come out of the healing cycle at the exact same place, and that deals with addictions, honestly. And if you're dealing with an addiction and you keep on going back to the addiction, keep on ending up just doing the same healing cycle over and over again, and that can be extremely frustrating, and it wears your family and your support networks down. And then the last outcome is you actually end up better than when you started, and that is the whole point of these broken pieces videos. Because from this point forward, we are now going to start talking about the emotional, the mental journey on putting together those broken pieces, so that you can understand the journey and you can grab onto those tools. Then you can find strength where you don't see any, you can find light where there's only darkness, and you can put yourself together in a better way. The next video will be on why me, and the reason being is because you probably asked it, and it is a very bad question. I hope you stick around for the next video. Until then, I hope you have a good day, because if you are, it means you probably gained something. And if you aren't having a good day, that's okay. We're allowed to have bad days. Just be cautious. You don't allow yourself to get trapped into that bad day, where it becomes a bad week, a bad month, a bad year. Until then, take care.